So let's look at the schedule and why it's this way. It changes brain centers. Okay, so let's look at this. Spelling sounds comes in through the ear, and it's hitting the linguistic component of the brain, more the temporal lobe. Reading sounds, I'm seeing and pointing, it's hitting the back part, occipital lobe, and the kinesthetic part. So I'm changing brain centers. New concept is frontal lobe. It's conceptual. So notice I'm going from Wernicke's language to occipital visual to now frontal lobe conceptual. Now that they have that, I go back to the language level, but I add sequencing, which is getting in Broca's much more involved, the sequencing with the Wernicke's, and I'm adding sequencing to that. Then I move to reading, which is back here, and I'm adding sequencing. Keep in mind, when you see a syllable, it does not come in order in the brain. The letters come in a random order, and the brain has to organize it. The brain gets more efficient at organization the more they read. Presently, the brain initially is not efficient, so the letters are in random order. So therefore, we've got to get them to systematically sound out left to right. That's why, Randy, when kids were having trouble sounding out words, they couldn't hold it. I said glue the vowel to the consonant for the syllable work. So you go bad, bad, back to help that left to right pattern. Now, after that, we go to reading of syllables, which is again back here with the sequential element that we just talked about. Spelling of words is uniting the language area with the kinesthetic area. And it requires more memory and a lot of processing because you got to remember the word. As you remember the word, you got to remember it while you write it. You got to remember the sounds that are associated. And you also have to kinesthetically remember how to make them or type them. It's very involved, more involved than reading. Then we move to the reading, and the reading is a combination of visual with frontal lobe and right hemisphere. It's a total brain activity. Because when you read, if you don't know a word, you're sounding it out, which is here. And then you go, I know that word. And then as you're predicting, you're using frontal lobe and inference. And then as you're getting into the affective components, you're hitting the right hemisphere about how do these people feel. It's hitting a total brain concept. And then writing is back to kinesthetic. So the model was put together knowing that we wanted to change brain centers. And that's why we can do this in 50 minutes without the kid being bored or worn out, is we're hitting different parts of the brain. This schedule was devised also to stimulate the word form area, which is the #1 reason kids with dyslexia can't read. They have fuzzy sounds, and when they're sounding out words, they're sounding it incorrectly. So the language area isn't picking it up and the word form area is not firing. If you do this schedule regularly, you stimulate the word form area, which then helps the child better at sounding out words, and the whole package occurs. So this particular cake we're baking is meant for a couple reasons. One is it teaches kids how to read, it stimulates the word form area, and it changes brain functioning so a child does not get fatigued in the process. It's multidimensional.